Hello. So here I am with Sandy, or at least 7,000 miles away from Sandy, but I'm with Sandy here. Uh,
I guess.
hey, and yeah, this is our third release of the Lightning Tools chat. So this week we're going to be talking about DeliverPoint still, since it's DeliverPoint month, and we thought we'd discuss is some of the things that our customers have been requesting around DeliverPoint. That we don't happen to yet offer inside our product, but we have added to the roadmap, and we are going to be building those features.
Yeah. People are often just have questions about permissions and in general, and about DeliverPoint during demos and things like that. Oh, I wish it could do this. I wish it could do that.
Yeah, and that's where I think we get most of the feedback actually on our products through tech support, but also through the demo. Yeah, there's so many great questions that come in through the demonstrations, and yeah, we feed that back all the time to the development team, and really helps shape the product.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we've just made a release, and this release this month includes the OneDrive permission reporting, and also we've got things like the copy object permissions that you can now do. So we spoke about those in last week's episode. I guess one of the things actually that we should raise is that the OneDrive permission reporting doesn't yet give you the ability to manage those permissions. So yeah, that's something that we do want to build into the product, and we will be building into the product this year. Is when you run a OneDrive permission report on perhaps your account, and you see that a particular user has access to lots of files and folders, and maybe that user has left the organization, or maybe it was an external user, is the ability to transfer those permissions to another account. So if whoever's taken over their role, whether it's internal or external, they'll be able to gain those permissions, and the source account would lose their permissions. And this is a feature that we already have in DeliverPoint for SharePoint content, and also through Teams as well. But yeah, the addition would be adding it into the OneDrive reporting.
And also for SharePoint, we have the regular sharing links report that you can see all of the sharing links that exist on a certain set of objects, but you can also manage them from there. Like you can remove the link and make it not work anymore. So that would be another thing that we could add to the OneDrive sharing links report.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it'd be great to uniform that OneDrive stuff with what's going on inside of SharePoint. 100%. So what else have we got on the roadmap? What can we talk about?
Well, coming up pretty soon is going to be having user cards and avatars. So just like you can in regular Office 3 or Microsoft 365, where you hover, you can see the little user circles instead of just their names as you can currently in DeliverPoint. And then you can hover over that and you get their card, and you can see your interactions that you've had with them, and be able to message them and things like that. So we think that's going to be a great addition to DeliverPoint, because then you can see who's got permissions to your stuff, and then maybe message that person that has permissions, and see if there's something that you need to change, or let them know that you're going to change it or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It just takes out yet another step that you have to do when you're managing permissions. There may even be questions that, do they need permissions to this folder, and so on. So just having that as, like you said, the people card, when you hover over a user, that will help you to communicate with that user without having to go through the manual process of perhaps finding out their email address and sending out an email to them, or calling them, or whatever you need to do. But also from a look and feel point of view, it's great because you can actually put a face to the name. So when you look at that report, you'll see all the different users that do have permissions, and that also may make sense as well. So this is something we've it's not released yet, but we've actually built into the Lightning Conductor as well. So that already works with things like the planner rollups that we do, the SharePoint task rollups and things like that. So you can actually see the users that have those tasks assigned to them and that type of thing. So that's already got that avatar built in,
or
which
will
is
have.
Yeah,
it's coming out in March. Right?
Yeah. So we have got it. We've got it. You've not got it yet.
It's very cool.
Yeah. I'm excited about releasing that. It's going to be great when we make that release in March there. So we're we're switching, those development efforts on the avatar cards there to the May release of DeliverPoint. So yeah, super excited about that too. It'd be a great addition.
Yeah, I mean, because DeliverPoint is now very modern looking anyway, but this will help keep it in line with what the rest of SharePoint Online looks like and Teams. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly keep it evolving, and yeah, you're right. It's that responsive UI that you get with the SharePoint framework anyway. It looks great inside the Teams mobile app now, as well as the Teams desktop app and everything. And I really like the way that we work with things like the dark mode inside of Teams now and that type of thing with all of our products. It's a great addition. So. The one thing I also wanted to talk about is a bit of customer feedback that we've got that we've not yet added to the roadmap. And mainly that's for one reason, that it's going into an enterprise version of DeliverPoint. And yeah, we have an enterprise build that we haven't talked about too much in the past, but this is something that we built for some extremely large customers. And just to give some sort of background as to why this is required, DeliverPoint, one of the benefits of DeliverPoint is it's giving you real-time reports. So you can go into a site as a site owner, and you can produce a discover permissions report, a report that includes all of the users of any AD security groups or any Microsoft 365 groups. So rather than going digging into those groups to see who's member of them, of which of course you can't do with inside an AD security group, we actually include every single user in that report with the level of permission that they have, and then you can drill into figuring out how did they get that permission. So as you drill into those groups, but that report is all real time. So in most scenarios, this works absolutely fantastic because you're running it on maybe single sites or multiple sites or certain site collections and so on. It's rare that you would run that against or try to run it against a tenant, for example. That just would not be recommended. But one of the challenges with that is also you're going to start hitting some of the threshold limits inside of SharePoint if you try to do that.
And throttling.
Yeah, sorry, the throttling limits is what I meant to say. So we do have some clients that run into the tens of thousands of users that do have that requirement to say, I really don't know where this user might be showing up inside the tenant, but I want to know where they were assigned permissions and I want to remove them. And that's just, good practice to keep the permission sets tidy, because of course you could just remove their user account or disable that user and they can't authenticate, but you're going to see that user flagging up all over the place. So one of the things that DeliverPoint allows you to do is actually you look at the unique permissions that a user may have, and then remove those permissions if perhaps they're a dead account or an unlicensed user or even external users. You can go through and remove the account, remove all of their permissions, or transfer the permissions away from them and to somebody else. So in the case where you're an enterprise organization, we have a sort of special build, and that build does allow you to have an external process. So it's requiring some Azure processes to execute this. But basically, you can trigger a report, and rather than show you the results in real time, it's actually going to go off and run in a background process and tell you when it's done. And so you can go to the scheduled reports page, and you can see the reports, which will be in Excel format, and then you can start to go through and investigate further what permissions those users have had and so on. So one of the pieces of feedback that we've got from quite a few enterprise organizations is the ability to schedule this not on a sort of on-demand process, but actually scheduling it to say, all right, every 3 months or every 6 months, we require an audit of the permissions. So what they want to do is to be able to schedule this report to be run for any site owners or site collection administrators, where they will basically get the report given to them electronically. They can go through it, which obviously is up to them to do, but they can use a lot of the DeliverPoint operations for things like transferring permissions or deleting permissions and that type of thing. And when they're happy, when they've got the clean set of permissions, they actually tick a checkbox and say, yeah, I'm done. And that will flag up to the tenant admin or whoever is owning this process to be able to report back and say, yeah, our permissions have been audited and we're meeting the needs of our organization in that regard. So
I was just going to say that's a big request, I think, from a lot of financial institutions is having to do that auditing because they're actually required to do that. And we just wrote have a case study customer story on our website about financial institutions. And so that would be another typical requirement that they might have as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's a great customer story. So yeah, exactly that. There's a lot of financial organizations, as opposed to other organizations that may have factories and things like that. There's a lot of information workers, and they're all producing content, they're all owning content. And one of the challenges for IT in that regard is the fact that IT can't possibly know all the time who should have permissions to every piece of content inside the Microsoft 365 tenant. And so you need to decentralize that permissions management, and that's what DeliverPoint is good at, is the fact that it's running within the context of the sites or the lists and the libraries, and it's empowering the business user to be more responsible about permissions around their content. So it makes the reports a lot easier to understand, and it makes it a lot easier to bulk manage the permissions as well. So yeah, that's certainly the case in a lot of financial organizations, and we're talking about banking and insurance agencies and things like that. That very content heavy organizations, lots of business users, and there's a lot of broken permission management going on throughout their tenant. So there's some great use of the product there. It's one of our biggest audiences, that and government, for DeliverPoint, certainly. Yeah.
And speaking of security and things like that, which is also applicable to both of those sectors a lot, very much so, we do get a question a lot about, do we have any of their data? Do we have access to any of their data when they're using DeliverPoint? And the answer is definitely no.
That question comes up, not just for DeliverPoint, but across all the products. It's a big concern now with things like GDPR and what have you that we have over here in, I guess, the EU. We probably don't have that now in the UK. but so yeah, there's big privacy concerns all the time, and I think of course with your tenant, you really don't want any of your data going outside of your tenant. That's completely understandable. And with all of our products, whether it's the Lightning Conductor, which is the content rollup tool, that certainly doesn't. We have the question a great deal about Lightning forms. So this is the form design tool. So that's about processing the data and what have you that comes up. We don't do any of that externally. All we're doing with the Lightning Conductor is aggregating your content into a view. Your content doesn't move. It stays inside the lists. We're just displaying it in a different way. And with Lightning forms, we're changing the layout, and we're adding the ability to do more complex calculations, and making the form more sort of business process orientated, creating actions and things like that. But at the end of the day, we're redesigning a form, and the content of that form is inside the list. It doesn't go anywhere. So when you create a new item using the new form that may have been customized, that item is just being saved inside the list, doesn't go anywhere outside of your environment at all.
Well, and the customization is done right there in your environment. It's not done on some external site.
Exactly. Yep. And so with DeliverPoint, same thing applies. So if you run a Discover Permissions report, it's using the API in order to be able to produce that report inside your tenant. There's nothing that goes outside of the tenant whatsoever. So the data, nothing moves. It's just reporting on it, and that's it. If you do a copy or a transfer or delete permissions, again, it's using the API to actually make those permission changes. And even in this enterprise version, where we talked about perhaps caching that information in a back-end process, that back-end process is in your tenant. So that goes inside your Azure environment. We don't actually want it. We don't want that responsibility.
Right.
So it's a case of here's the processes that will run inside your tenant, and that will produce your scheduled reports. Yeah, so really good point to bring up, Sandy. Yeah, it's definitely something that is a big concern that people have, but yeah, but by no means that comes up. It even comes up with Social Squared, the discussion forum tool. So that uses SharePoint lists as a repository again. So you're creating a discussion, replying to those discussions, all of that content is going to a SharePoint list. And the nice thing is around that, you get the security done for you. It's not done by Social Squared. You add members to a site or add members to a team. They're the people that can engage inside the forums. So all the authentication and the permissions are there set, and you can control them with DeliverPoint, of course, so, or SharePoint teams.
Yep. And because nothing is leaving your tenant, it's enabled us to create GCC versions of our tools also that can be used in US government cloud.
Yep.
Which is a big demand.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've done that, I think, across the board as well with all of the products too. So yeah, 100%. So what other exciting things are on the roadmap for DeliverPoint? Is there
another one that's kind of a little bit further out there is creating summary reports. I really like that idea.
Is that coming out in the summer? The summary reports.
I don't know. Actually, it might be. It might be a little after summer. Right, you lost my train of thought now. Thanks. But anyway, that will let you see, the idea is so that you can see kind of at a glance some of the key information on the Discover Permissions report, I think, especially, and like I think counts of users that have permission and so on before actually running the report, or in addition to running the report. So you get some sort of like an executive summary of the report, which may run to pages and pages and pages of just a list. So this will give you a better view, I think, initially after you run some of the reports.
Yeah, great. So a lot of the concerns that you may have, I guess, as a site owner, or even for your own OneDrive or something like that, is what's been shared externally, what has broken permission inheritance, and that type of thing. So whilst the Discover Permissions reports that we provide go into great detail as to who's got permissions across all of that, you can spend some time looking at those reports and filtering those reports, and you're not always going to spot issues. So the idea behind the summary information is to just highlight some of those things that may be issues. They're not necessarily issues. It will depend on each site that you run the report on and your own business, but it might be, if you've got a lot of broken permission inheritance, for example, that we highlight that to you. So maybe a particular document library within a certain site has a lot of broken permission inheritance, or maybe there's a lot of dead accounts. And by dead accounts, that's a term that I guess we use inside DeliverPoint. Some people use orphaned accounts. Basically, it means that the account no longer resides inside the Active Directory, or they don't have a license for that account for SharePoint anymore, but they're still permissioned with inside the site. So you wouldn't spot that anyway from the Discover Permissions report. So it's just going to give you that sort of heads up that there's a lot of dead accounts here, there's a lot of broken permission inheritance here, maybe there's a lot of groups, and based on that, you could then look further in the detail and maybe make changes.
Yep, great.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of super excited about that one. So that will be what, summer feature, the summary.
Apparently.
Thing. Yeah. I think we need to do that now. Excellent. So here we are, sort of reaching the end of January, which was DeliverPoint month, and we're sort of transitioning into Social Squared for next month. So yeah, we're in the Q&A processes at the moment for Social Squared, but there's some good features coming out about that one. Looking forward to discussing those in the next episode, so we can talk about what to expect from that new Social Squared build. And I think there's a lot in that release.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, Social Squared, the discussion board, it's really proven to be a useful tool around Microsoft Teams, and one of the reasons for that is there's a lot of sort of educational organizations, or not necessarily educational organizations, but companies that will have some sort of learning management system, and they want to be able to provide this structured way of being able to ask questions and get replies to questions within inside of Teams, and over time you get a knowledge base built up. And with the adoption of Microsoft Teams throughout 2020 and into 2021, and also with the all education being remote pretty much, that's been a really useful tool to the Teams environment. So yeah, some great investment in that product that we've been doing throughout this year.
Looking forward to that. And as always, if you have questions about the things that you've seen us talk about, or you want to have us talk about something in a future episode, feel free to comment on the video, and then we'll address that in a future chat.
Sounds good.
All right. I think that's maybe it for this week.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I look forward to chatting next week, and see you soon, Sandy.
All right. See you, Brett. Bye.